You guys ready to get going?
Wait, hold on one more second. We good?
D-back. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. I'm joined here with my boy O.C. the G. I'm German. And then we're also joined here by our boy Drew, who happens to be wearing a mask that says loser, or a bag that says loser over the top of his head for a very good reason. You want to explain to them the reason, Drew?
Because the Cowboys let me down.
Yeah. The Cowboys let him down, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You should you should remember the feeling that you have right now, because you deserve this. You deserve every bit of it. Okay? And I want you to leave that on the entire show. No. The entire intro. You put that shit back on. Okay, special announcement for this one, guys. We're actually going to be changing the name of the podcast. Oh, wow. Yeah. We're going to keep it simple. We changed it to the G&D Sports Podcast Show. German and Drew.
Oh, thanks for leaving me up, bro.
You could come up with OC the G.
No, it's not. I'm just guest appearing during
guest appearance season. Yeah, special appearance once football season gets going.
Yeah, I'll probably be out of here.
You don't want to come on during the peak of golf season?
No. I'm good.
Watch Phil Mickelson hurt his back again. Tiger's got back problems now, dude.
Yeah, but Tiger's the GOAT. He'll win with back problems.
Andrew's got back problems, so he relates.
For those of you, it's an inside joke. Drew's got severe scoliosis.
I wouldn't say severe. There's people far worse scoliosis than me. Let's not get carried away.
He was fine up into puberty, and then I don't know what happened.
See, my head's just too big. It's heavy. And just kind of lean to the side a little bit.
And
he became a cowboy. He became a cowboy.
Got it.
He became a Cowboys fan. That's what happened.
I thought it was for the curve in the back. The D.
Oh. That's him taking shots at you, dude.
They weren't funny.
All right, here we go. Today, guys, we're going to go ahead. We're going to get into the recap from the wildcard weekend, Super Wildcard weekend. Even though we're a little bit late on it, we'll try to do as much as we can. We're going to go into Drew's corner and talk about a couple of the Cowboys players, some guys that he wants to vent about. And then we're going to talk about the divisional round coming up this up weekend. Exciting games there. And then if we have time there at the end, we'll talk about some of the disappointing players / teams from this past season. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Let's go ahead. Let's get started with the Bengals-Raiders games. Bengals 26, Raiders 19. Interesting game. Big story out of that was the officials' calls. With the inadvertent whistle. OC, what'd you see there?
I mean, I was riding the Raiders hot wave, so that's why I took him. And I was really rooting for Derek, so that's also why I took him. So, but like you said, the calls, the officials, right? So the whistle blew, right? So they said what? It blew after the catch, right?
The officials said
right?
that it was blown after the catch, but that was the call that they were making on the field. Yeah. But if you watch the video,
it wasn't even close.
Ball was midair.
Yeah,
whistle blew. Now, based off of experience and the stuff that I've dealt with, like in high school football, like the way we play is, the whistle blows, no matter what, even if it's inadvertent, it's an accident, plays dead, or replay the down. Mm-hmm. Even when I've seen it in college, it's happened a couple times. If they accidentally blow their whistle, plays dead, just replay the down.
Yeah,
and that's what should have happened. So
right.
you heard on the whoever they had on the broadcast, the referee, how they always have that extra referee helping them out on the telecast.
Oh, like the analysis.
Yeah, he told them, he's all, that should have been a dead ball.
Yeah,
and then just replay the down. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you basically get 6. If the Raiders stop them there, you turn it into a field goal. Maybe it's a closer game. You don't need a touchdown at the end. Maybe you do. It just changed the outcome.
That is true. Yeah, it did dictate the game. Well, that play by Joe Burrow it looked like in real time. While I was watching it in real time, it looked like I was like, oh, that's out of bounds. He's out of bounds. Yeah.
The first time I seen it in real time, I was like, oh, he stepped out. And then they showed the slow mo. He There's clearly grass in between his
Do,
cleat
do
and
you
the
think?
sideline.
Do you think that's why players stopped? Because when the whistle's blown, the ball's in midair, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's kind of quick. I feel like it's blown like right before it gets to the receiver. Do you think the Raiders players stopped because it looked like Joe Burrow was out of bounds?
That, and then you also got to factor in like player safety. Like these dudes get like personal fouls all the time for late hits, or like
especially a quarterback.
Yeah, so or maybe they wanted to take a shot at the receiver, but they kind of got to let
They're
off.
like, oh no.
So maybe that factored into their equation, but who knows?
Drew, what you see?
No, I agree completely, especially on that play. You teach the kids at an early age. You play till you hear the whistle.
Yeah.
And they hear a whistle, they stop playing. I do think that it was kind of close. Like the ball was probably about a little more than halfway there. So to just stop running out of nowhere, I think is very unlikely. But you can kind of see the safety kind of like relaxes a little bit halfway when that ball is halfway there.
Yeah.
So I think they played the whistle. I think it was a huge mistake on the officials.
Interesting. And then the biggest thing there at the end, the interception on fourth down. Derek Carr doing Derek Carr things. To me, it is satisfying to watch to see the Raiders get so close. But no, Derek Carr, he did put the team on his back there at the end. Well, he tried his best. The Bengals defense weren't that impressive, were they? Did you see anything that really stood out other than?
I mean, again, I can't name you any defensive players they have.
But than the Bengals.
Somehow they get the job done, So credit to them. They kept the Raiders' offense in check for most of the night. I mean, you held a playoff team to under 20. And yeah, to go back to the Derek Carr thing, the dude is like, I don't know. I know a lot of Raider fans that are out on him.
Yeah.
And they were just upset at him, but I was like, you guys got to give him credit too. He
also
got you there too,
Yeah.
He gets himself into trouble, but he also like comes back into the game. He'll bring you back into the game.
What do you see the future of the Raiders hold? Do you think they stick with Carr? Do you think they move on from him? Do they stick with Rich Pisano? Jim Harbaugh, he's the
hot guy.
He's the hot guy right now. They're gonna pull him from Michigan. Sounds like it.
Yeah, the odds are on him right now that they're saying that it's basically his job if he wants it. So
it's about right there. What do you think, Drew? You think they should move on from Carr, stay with him?
No, I think their best bet is stay with Carr. I think you can attract a quality receiver like Devontae Adams if you keep Carr. I think we've discussed before, Derek Carr is really one really good player away from being a really elite quarterback.
Elite quarterback?
Yeah. Well,
you think so?
You would consider an elite quarterback making a playoff push, right?
This is his first playoff game.
Well, I know, but I'm saying if you're a quarterback that can make a playoff push, win 2 games, go to a conference championship, somehow go to the Super Bowl, you'd be considered an elite quarterback unless you're Jimmy G.
Well, that's what I was like to combat that. Jimmy G did go to a Super Bowl, and Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl. Are you telling me those? I mean, they both made playoff push. Are you telling me those guys are elite?
I mean,
the difference.
I thought the same thing with Ryan Tannehill. I thought he's not an elite quarterback, but here he is again, the 1 seed. I mean, he just because he isn't super flashy like Patrick Mahomes, or he's not Aaron Rodgers or a guy that slings a ball like Russell Wilson, doesn't mean that you're not elite. They just do it in a different way. It's the same position, they just have different skill sets. They manage the game well. Derek Carr turns it over a little bit, but somehow he comes through.
He was in the MVP talk, right? Like the first month of the season, right? Because they got off to that hot start.
He was slinging it when John Gruden was there.
And then, they hit that wave where it just a bunch of stuff just started happening.
Interesting year for them.
And that's why I give him credit, because like him and Bisaccia, like they kind of like rode the wave.
Rich Bisaccia, brother.
And they just like
gotta say it with the hands.
You gotta say it with the hands. You gotta.
Well,
you pronounced it wrong. It's Rich Bisaccia.
Bisaccia. Okay. Well, like it's just like you got to give him credit. Like both of those guys, like I mean, stuff hit the fan, and they somehow like pulled that team together and got in.
I love the him writing the individual letters.
Yeah,
like the day after the game to everybody. That's insane.
So how do you get rid of a guy like that? An interim coach that you just kind of threw out there
that everybody loves,
that everyone loves. He took this team that was fucking in shambles.
Yeah.
builds it together, pieces it together, and makes a playoff push, wins that, basically a playoff game against the Chargers, and then goes toe-to-toe with a red-hot Bengals in Cincinnati, coming down to the last play of the game, last drive of the game.
Yeah.
And then how much the players love him. How could he not be your number one candidate? I understand Harbaugh, great coach, but I go with what you got working for you right now, and that's what's working.
Mark Davis gonna do Mark Davis things though.
That's the thing. If he can pull in John, the only example I can pull out of or the positive side of keeping Carr is look what Harbaugh did with Alex Smith, and kind of just turned his career around. Remember?
Okay. Yeah.
You know, they essentially kind of were in the same situation. I think the Niners finished. They were like 8-7 the year before, or something like, or 8-8 the year before. He came in, took them 13-3 all the way to the NFC title game with Alex Smith. I think they ended up losing to the Giants. I think that was the year the Giants won the Super Bowl.
He took them to a couple NFC title games, right?
He took them to 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one Super Bowl, right?
And then the one Super Bowl with Kaepernick. So that's the only upside I see with being in John and keeping Carr. If you're sticking with Rich, or if the job's open to anybody else, I don't know. I don't know if you keep Carr there in the building. I mean, if you can bring in like someone, say like Russell Wilson, who's on the market right now, so that would be interesting, right?
It would
But
be.
there's no appeal for Russell Wilson to go there.
I mean, he's got weapons on the offensive side.
If you think about it, isn't it basically the same team he has in Seattle?
A little bit, but I
Not
think
as
he has
good-
better
not-
receivers in
not as good
Seattle.
I
think the main allure to bringing him to Vegas is that you take him to Vegas and then he's got like say so of the offense. Like it's going to be his show, right? I think that was the whole thing of him in Seattle, was that they're not letting Russ cook, right? If you bring him in, he pretty much gets to take over the offense with those weapons. I mean, with Darren Waller, you got
even with
Josh Jacobs,
with Russell Wilson, I think the Raiders would still be one player short. One key.
Well, yeah,
player.
you can still. I mean, and then maybe just fix up the defensive side, but I mean, you can build something there with
He
Max
doesn't
Crosby.
have. Okay, so now he talks about being one guy short. So I agree with that, because like if you think about Seattle, he has Metcalf. You know, he's got Tyler Lockett, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett could be the same as Hunter Renfrow, but
The defense is the difference maker.
yeah, but Seattle has Bobby Wagner, but I mean that defense wasn't very good this
Yeah,
year.
it wasn't scheme wise at least.
I mean,
And
if you
then,
look at it, what they
then-
finished, I can't remember the record, but I mean they weren't as good. They didn't make the playoffs, right?
I think they
Raiders
only
weren't
ended
as
up with
good.
like 5 wins
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Wilson missed like 6 weeks.
He did.
with
So-
the thumb. I think it was
Yeah.
only 4 weeks with a thumb
finger?
injury. Yeah,
Finger
or
or
the
thumb,
finger.
whatever it was.
Yeah,
The Raiders defense is not that great either. They had Max Crosby, and that's really about it. And in the
Sure.
biggest game of the year, Max Crosby had 3 tackles.
Yeah, in the playoff game.
Yeah.
on the playoff game. Yeah,
Yeah,
he really underperformed in the playoff game for sure. Okay, so we'll move on from that. The next game, we had the Bills and the Pats, 47 Bills, Pats 17. Were you expecting a blowout win, Drew?
No, I wasn't. The last meeting between them in Buffalo, cold weather, the Patriots completely dominated. Threw
Yeah.
the ball 3 times and won. So this was really shocking to me, especially a Belichick team to get blown out like that. But at the same time, I was impressed with Mac Jones, 24 for 38, 2 touchdowns as a rookie. That's pretty good,
Yeah.
on the road. But Josh Allen's was far superior, 21 for 25, damn near perfect game.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong there, 5 touchdowns. It was just super lopsided.
5 touchdowns, 4 incompletions. That's what the stat that sticks out to me. 4
The 4
incompletions.
incompletions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This dude threw 5 touchdowns.
You know who else?
And then they were big time throws too. It wasn't
Yeah.
like he was dinking and dunking. No, he was launching the
That
ball
first
down
touchdown
the
he
field.
threw, apparently he was trying to throw it away in the corner of the
that's
end zone.
right. The one
And
to Knox, right?
Yeah, somehow Dawson Knox came down with
Yeah.
that. So
That was insane. Big time performance.
Their defense showed up too.
yeah.
It's the best defense in the NFL, and they look like it this last weekend.
Yeah, and
That Micah Hyde interception.
Oh yeah,
the
over
one
the
that came
shoulder,
across. Yeah.
sliding
It's
across,
textbook.
right?
Yeah. It didn't look like he was going to get there, but I guess he just made up with his speed and then just
And Buffalo, no all pro guys, but somehow their defense is
their
Just
defense just
one unit.
performs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
collectively.
Big time defensive unit. What about the Pats? I mean, what do you see? I mean, is it something that they're able to build off of? I mean, Mac Jones, rookie year, wasn't super impressive, but I mean, he did just enough, I guess, to get them wins. What do you think there?
He got him to the playoffs. I mean, how many rookies come in and lead you to the playoffs right off the bat? You know,
Cam Newton couldn't do it, and he had almost the exact same
so it's
team.
like you know, like there's people that are talking about like he's not slinging the ball enough, or he's not. But if you think back to like the early Tom Brady years, because everyone always wants to make that comparison.
Yeah,
Brady wasn't carrying that team. Like it was defensive led. You had Teddy Bruschi, Richard Seymour, Ty Law. It was like heavy defensive loaded. But Tom Brady did just enough to get them those early Super Bowl victories and to start turning the tide.
Yeah.
And then they started loading up on offense, and then he started carrying. But I mean, what more can you ask for from Mac Jones? You know,
right?
He won you 10 games, right? Got you to 10-6.
We're 10-7 record,
10-7,
right?
yeah. And got you to the playoffs.
Enough to get to the playoffs, yeah.
And was still in the hunt for the division title going into the last week
Almost
of the
won,
season.
almost won the division.
I'm perfectly fine with everything that Mac Jones did this year.
Yeah.
He's a rookie. How often do rookie quarterbacks lead teams to the playoffs? I mean, Cam Newton was a vet, couldn't do that last year. He takes over this year and just real easily.
Former MVP, Cam Newton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy real easily takes this team to the playoffs.
Right.
I've got no issues with Mac Jones. I think give him 2 years with Bill Belichick, and he's going to be a threat.
No, yeah, I agree, definitely. Bucks and Eagles. Bucks 31, Eagles 15. I mean, really not much to report on there. I mean, everyone kind of saw it coming, I felt like the Bucks kind of let the gas pedal a little light there at the end. They let off. Did you see Bruce Arians fined $50K
for
slapping Adams in the back of the helmet?
That's hilarious.
Safety, right?
Player safety. I mean, I guess. I mean, he's trying to stop it looks like he's trying to stop like a potential brawl. I guess I don't know what
he was.
The
Adams was pulling guys off the pile, and you can't do that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that.
So
So
that one kind of caught me off guard because I thought the Eagles were going to be able to emphasize their run game.
At least run the ball. Yeah,
they could not run that game.
I mean, they only scored late, right? It was like
it was a couple late touchdowns.
Cheap touchdowns at the end just to make it look like they did something.
Yeah.
But that one was the one that I was like, really?
Right.
You get to the playoffs and you couldn't even establish a run game.
What about the Eagles, man? I mean, the first year head coach this year. Last year, it looked like they were kind of dead in the water, and then Jalen Hurts leads them to the postseason. Are they going to stick to Jalen? Or are they going to move on from him?
I think so.
Deshaun Watson is still on the market.
That's the word that he's QB1 for next year. So
he kind of impressed me this year. He did pretty well. He runs the ball really well. You can throw it.
No, yeah, they did a great job of adjusting to his skill set, which I think a lot of teams nowadays really aren't keen on doing. Right? I mean. Especially a first-year head coach, he said he saw the cards he was dealt with. He goes, "Okay, this is what I got. This is what I'm going to do." So I think that's pretty cool. Seeing that and seeing that a head coach is willing to adjust to his rookie or to his second-year quarterback. That was awesome. Next game after that, Chiefs and Steelers. Big Ben's final game. Anything surprise you there, OC?
Just early on, it was 0-0. It looked like it was going to be like one of those like 17-14 ball games, you know. Yeah. TJ Watt gets the tip or the fumble recovery, the scoop and score, and then I don't know that somehow like Casey gets into these games in the playoffs, and it always takes like them being down
to get that slow
for
start
them to just wake up, and then they go off and just here's a touchdown, like four drives back to back, you know, and that's. And then they just like completely go up by like 30, and then you're just like, okay, well, there's the Chiefs.
What'd you see, Drew? Anything surprise you there?
No, not really. It just the Steelers are very physical. They're a defensive-minded team. So they always have been, and that's kind of how it started in the very beginning of the game. But Patrick Mahomes did Patrick Mahomes things, and eventually, like OC says, they settled in, they took over, and it was a blowout after that. Yeah,
nothing really too surprising there. Do you legit believe it's Big Ben's last game?
I hope so.
You hope so?
I hope so.
Or do you think he's kind of just like a Brett Favre? He kind of just sits there. He goes, "Oh, look at the team we got."
I don't know. I feel like he's like in between. You know, like I feel like I don't know. Training camp comes around, he might just like, I still want to play.
Right, just kind of there at the end.
I hope
if he does come back, is Mike Tomlin going to be okay? Yeah, we'll bring you back, or they ready to move on?
move on.
Yeah, I mean,
Just end it.
At this point, you know.
Who's the guy there? Dwayne Haskins?
Deshaun Watson, man.
Deshaun Watson. They can make a move for
Deshaun
him.
Watson.
I mean, if
No one handles the drama better than Mike Tomlin does. AB, Ben, Juju, Bell.
yeah.
But is Deshaun Watson really like drama? Like, I mean, off the field stuff, other than, of course, what's going on with all the legal issues.
Well,
but,
I mean, I would consider that like big time drama. If he's not after that, good for Mike Tomlin. It's less for him to worry about, right?
But it's not like he's got like a terrible personality that he's got to deal with, right? Like,
no. Well,
like a headache in the locker room or something.
No, not really. I mean, as far as I know, as far as I can see, but I think that's a good spot for him.
Yeah, and then Deshaun Watson, he's still got all that legal stuff that he's got to take care of, right? And then all that stuff, and then depending on what happens there, he's got to serve some type of suspension, right? Like we saw AB serve a suspension. So are they going to be willing to put up with that? Have Dwayne Haskins play quarterback in the meantime as a placeholder? Or?
Hey, sometimes you got to bite the bullet and think big picture here to be able to lock in Watson for a while, and you just kind of ride the wave at the beginning and deal with a punishment. It might pay out in the long run.
What about you?
The stuff I read is just the Texans want to get him traded or out of there before the free agency gets started. So it's going to be very interesting. So right around March.
I was going to say that's 2 months, right?
Yeah. So it's going to be
coming in close.
Interesting offseason to see what happens with him. You know, took the whole year off. Technically, he was still on the roster, so he was getting paid still.
He was still getting paid. That's right. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see if the Steelers, are going to let Big Ben decide his own future, or they're going to tell him, hey, dude, you need to let us know now, or so we can make a move, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. One thing that did surprise me about the game was the Steelers defense kind of underperforming. And then I know it was against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to put up points, but TJ Watt didn't really perform. Micah Fitzpatrick didn't really perform. Like they have studs on that defense, and then just to go in there and to put up that kind of performance. I mean, Big Ben played the way I expected Big Ben to play. You know, I feel like he's kind of hanging on by a thread, especially that elbow.
Dude, that arm's got to fall off.
Well, they got to take his laptop away from him. Okay, so the big game of the weekend. The Niners 23, Cowboys 17. OC, what were your initial reactions to the game?
Oh, what a great game. Just what a great game, Andrew. What did you say? No, but me and you sat here and we picked San Francisco, obviously, but it was just right from the first possession. They go down, establish the run game. They basically told you, here's what we got, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run it down your throats and try to stop us.
Yeah.
Edge runs, inside runs. You got ends arounds with Debo. Like they were throwing the whole playbook at him, like every kind of run you could see in the first couple drives, you know?
Yeah.
And they really established what they wanted to do. But the big thing that I noticed that I really liked that Kyle Shanahan did was he didn't force, like he didn't try to take chances, you know? If they got down there inside the red zone or anywhere on their side of the field, he took the points.
He said, we're going to beat you with what we do.
Yeah, he didn't try to go overexert himself. He didn't try to like take chances. He conservative ball.
Yeah.
We're inside the 30. We're not going to go. We're going to kick the field goal, you know? Knocked in all their field goals, and then, you know, it was just enough to like
put them over the edge.
Yeah, keep the Cowboys off of them, you know?
My initial reactions, what I saw there is I feel like the Niners completely outcoached the Cowboys. I feel like from the game plan from the beginning, like you said, they came in, well-scripted first drive, boom, led down the field. They turn it around, make them punt, again, down the field, kick a field goal, and then make them punt again. That's got to be demoralizing for a team. I feel like it was just the game plan, just all around. The Niners had they knew that they were going to establish the run game. And then the Cowboys knew it too, but just couldn't stop it. And the Cowboys, I feel like offensively, their game plan was, hey, Dak, throw it 40 times, and we'll see what happens.
Make some plays, you know.
Yeah, he was like, put the team on Dak's back, and I feel like the Niners were a little bit better than the Cowboys had anticipated, especially with the defensive line. They thought, okay, that we can our guys can hold up one-on-one defensively, and I feel like that was the turning point of the game, or not the turning point of the game, but
The difference right there.
The difference was the offensive line and defensive line for both teams. I feel like the Niners were just way better up front. So that's what I saw. I feel like Dallas has the better players, but the Niners were the better team. And I know a lot of people want to bag on the Cowboys and say like, oh, we threw this or we fucked this up or we choked this and that. But I think they just underestimated the Niners. And I like to go back and look at the year that the Cowboys had. They beat 2 playoff teams. They beat the Patriots and the Eagles. Both teams got smoked.
Yeah. And their matchups, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So that offense put up a lot of points, but it's just you still got to go out there and execute, right? You still got to go put everything together, and I think that goes all the way up to Mike McCarthy. I feel like he's I don't feel like he's the right man for the job. I know he's going to stay there in Dallas. I don't think they're going to let him go, but I feel like he's really underwhelming. Really underwhelming. What did you see, Drew? What were your initial reactions coming from the Cowboy fan?
Well,
damn boys.
Just to kind of piggyback onto what you're saying, I think really the entire game just completely comes down to what you just said. Mike McCarthy got way out coached.
Yeah.
On every sort of level. The big one, the first one for me is the day after the game. It comes out Zeke has a partially torn PCL. So that dude can't make any sort of cuts without being like just brutally in pain or in fear of tearing the joint some more. Okay. If that's the case, and that happened week 4 or 6, and he's been playing on it since. If that's the case, why the hell is Tony Pollard not getting the number 1 touches? And that makes zero sense at all.
As a team, the Cowboys had 77 rushing yards.
Well,
and like
hold
20 of them came off like the run at the end, right?
Yeah, I'll go over that some more. But that doesn't make any sense to me. What Tony Pollard's not doing bad. You've said it, and I'm sure you've said it multiple times. Tony Pollard looks far more explosive than Zeke does. He looked way better throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
So then why in the entire season is Zeke getting the number 1 reps? That doesn't make any sense. So that shows a lack of leadership and decision making in Mike McCarthy.
You think that call comes from upstairs? Jerry Jones sitting up
Maybe,
there.
but Jerry Jones, you better fucking figure out.
We paying Zeke all this money.
You either swallow your pride and win, or you hold your pride and you watch your team continue to get their ass beat.
Yeah,
because that's terrible. Second, penalties, dude. It's absolutely outrageous. Cowboys averaged just under 8 penalties a game, and we had 14 that game. Wow, that's insane. We had like 4 pre-snap penalties. The ball hasn't even moved yet, and we're getting penalized. That's outrageous. Micah Parsons got a neutral zone infraction. Randy Gregory got 2 neutral zone infractions. We've got defensive holds on the front. Who does that? Especially in the crunch time. There's 3 minutes left in the game. The Niners are just trying to run out the clock, and we're holding linemen.
And it was like wide open too.
It was
it was
terrible.
Not trying to hide it.
So I attribute that to poor coaching. The defensive sides, I understand they're getting a little bit of aggressive. Micah Parsons is trying to jump the snap. Brandon Gregory, they're trying to jump the snap. That's the thing that they had going with them for Dan Quinn this year. They were very aggressive. They were very headstrong, come out and hit you hard. But it's a playoff game, man. You can't move. You can't cross the line before the ball does. That's 101. But other than that, I mean, on the defensive side, we were getting beat in the run in the first half. In the second half, not as much. We made some adjustments. Dan Quinn typically did that really well this year. Our second half performance was way better defensively than the first half performance. But the Niners exploited something that we knew that we weren't good at going into the game, is we can't stop the run nearly as much as we can stop the ball being thrown.
Yeah.
So we held Jimmy G to his lower than all of his season averages in yards, completions percentages. So we did well there, but we got beat up in the front. And if you can't take away a team's positive, you're not going to win. So the Niners' positive was running the ball. That's what they do best. And if we can't take that away, we're going to lose. And then jumping to the offensive line, 4 penalties on the offensive line in a playoff game. That's ridiculous. Connor Williams gets called for 2 penalties, a hold and a false start. That dude led the league in penalties.
Connor Williams, the guy you're putting in your guillotine right now.
Yeah. Coming after you this weekend, Connor Williams. Connor Williams started 14 games this year. He got benched 3 games because he was underperforming, mainly because of his penalties. He started 14 games and had 15 penalties called on him in the regular season. It's more than one a game. You can't be doing that if you want to be an offensive lineman in the NFL. That's absolutely ridiculous. Since we can't prevent any sort of protection for Dak Prescott, means we can't run the ball. We become one-dimensional. Not to mention, we still have Zeke with a partially torn PCL, so we're not able to run the ball. One-dimensional. What happens to that defensive front? Just start bull rushing Dak Prescott. Just one-on-one. Let me just rush right through this guy as hard as possible. Pressure's there in 2.5 seconds.
Was Connor Williams the guy who got beat by DJ Jones on one of those sacks there in the second half?
No, that was actually our all-pro Zach Martin.
Oh, Zach Martin got beat, the guy in the middle, right? He was like a guard.
Yeah, he's our right guard. It was a really properly executed play. He tries to come there outside, has a little move, comes back around, just blew right by. But we were out coached, man, and it wasn't even close. Normally, in the later portions of the game, Kellen Moore likes to go into his bag of tricks. We had nothing going for us. I mean, Zeke or Dak could hardly get a completion. He's got 2 seconds to throw the ball. It was all in all just shitty. I mean,
I really thought that once Bosa went out with the concussion, I thought that Dallas was going to take advantage of that. But it just seemed like San Francisco just turned it up even more.
And that's one thing that San Francisco does have. They have really sound athletic defensive linemen. Like it's just, and they did it all year. It's just creating a rotation. That's why they were so good up front.
It seemed like every time that
they were fresh the whole game.
Yeah, every time that Dak went back to pass, like someone was in his face or someone was near him getting pressures, and that goes. Then
it led to an interception.
Yeah, and that credit I credit D'Amico Ryans, the defensive coordinator, because he called a hell of a game. You know.
He did. He called his best game all year.
You hold down the league's leading offense, points per game, right? They're like almost 31 points per game. And you
over 400 yards a game.
Yeah, you
without blitzing too much. I think they only blitzed a few times.
Well,
it's not that tough when Connor Williams is helping you guys out.
Zone coverage, right? We talked about it. Yeah, so a lot of zone coverage, and they were just sitting, waiting. That's why you seen the pick. You seen guys just waiting, you know? Maybe that was why Dak was throwing the ball too short, too long, because he saw the guys sitting, waiting for passes, you know? And it just felt like he never got into a rhythm. You usually see Dak when he's playing his best ball, like the scripts are set up for him to, you know, dink this, hit this. And CD only had 1 catch the whole game.
Yeah, the whole game.
You would say he's the best receiver on the team?
Yeah.
Well, your best receiver can't have 1 catch.
Nope, definitely can't. CD is not Dak's safety blanket, though. The tight end will always be
Schultz.
It doesn't matter who it is, because when Dak came into the league, he had Jason Witten.
Yeah,
it's really easy to have that safety net. Well, a lot of people check down. Dak has always, since he came to the league, looked for the tight end.
There was some drives where they were blanketed over the top, and he was hitting underneath, just because the Niners linebackers were really bad getting into coverage. Like they looked just super slow. So he was hitting them underneath, but I guess he kept looking for the home run hit. He kept looking for CeeDee Lamb or for Amari Cooper down the field. To their credit, I mean, when the Niners did hop into man, they scored a touchdown off of it. Yeah. Amari Cooper, I think he was like the number 2 guy, went up the field on a.
It was that slot fade.
Just straight up beat him. Like didn't even disguise it or anything. But that was the only time the Niners went into man, other than that cover 0 blitz on the 4th down.
The good teams make adjustments on their weaknesses in playoffs that helps them win games.
Yeah.
And that's what the Niners did. They played a lot of zone. Their secondary did really well at not getting beat, other than that touchdown. The Cowboys did the opposite. We choked on almost every front. And that's exactly why the Niners won.
It just felt like they kind of overlooked them. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, we're at home. And San Francisco was the only road team to win this weekend, so credit to them again for that.
Yeah, they were.
But if you look at that stadium, there's a lot of red like Drew's wearing right now in there. So it was a sea of red. So
no, the Niners fans, they know how to travel, man. Yeah. They know how to get out there. And one point I wanted to make was the Cowboys this year. You see them go into rough games where there's a team that's playoff bound, and they struggled. So they struggled against the Bucks earlier this year. Who else did they struggle against? They struggled big time against Denver, right? Denver didn't really do much. I mean, they had a solid defense.
Lost to the Raiders on Thanksgiving.
They lost the Raiders on Thanksgiving. Derek Carr had some heroics there at the end. But I mean, other than that, what real dogfight that they get into
the big
where
games,
you can see
the big games, they were non-existent.
Yeah.
We dominated our division, and our division is not full of great teams, but something that you've said for the longest time, divisional games are always different than non-divisional games. But like I said, they did not rise to the top. The cream rises to the top. They did not. There was a lack of efforts, confidence there, whatever it was. It wasn't there.
So what changes do you think is going to come up next year for the Cowboys? Because it looks like Dan Quinn's about on his way to become a head coach again, right?
So
I hope not.
Yeah, it looks like someone's going to pick him up.
I think that's the big thing right now is keep Dan Quinn. I think that's far more important than worrying about Mike McCarthy. You got really all your big players locked up. The only few people that aren't locked up, Randy Gregory, Dalton Schultz, and Michael Gallup. I would love to keep Randy Gregory, but the defensive coordinator is far more important. That's the number one.
And then Michael
objective.
Gallup just tore his ACL, right?
Yeah, and then I like Michael Gallup, but Cedric Wilson is a really good slot receiver. If we had him over Michael Gallup, save some money, I think the offense would do just fine. Dalton Schultz, good tight end, but we got Blake Jarwin too, so if we lose him, not the end of the world. Losing Randy Gregory on that defensive front is kind of hurt. We have to have some sort of pass rush, and I don't see any major pass rush guy feeling like they want to go to Dallas.
What about Kellen Moore? I mean, he seems like an attractive young offensive coordinator, like a
I like
McVay,
Kellen Moore.
a Shanahan.
I like Kellen Moore.
LaFleur. Do you think
he's getting these interviews, but I think maybe Jacksonville will offer him something only because Jacksonville's not going to get any of the big names.
Yeah.
So Jacksonville's probably going to throw it out there to Kellen Moore. Hopefully he's smart enough to realize it doesn't matter how rough the roads are in Dallas. It's better than coaching in Jacksonville. I would assume that he'd stay. He's young. He's that fresh mind that people are looking at, like you said, the McVay, Shanahan's, LaFleur, but I don't think he's quite there just yet. Mm-hmm. When Mike McCarthy was out one game for COVID, I was kind of wondering, do you let Dan Quinn be the interim head coach right here, or do you let Kellen Moore, the guy that everyone's been kind of talking about the last 2 years, and Dan Quinn was calling the game? Mm-hmm. So that kind of leads me to believe that he's not quite there yet. I think maybe after this upcoming season, depending on how it goes, is probably going to be the last year Kellen Moore's the OC in Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And then what I think is going to be interesting to see there, especially on the defensive side, if Dan Quinn does leave, because there's some attractive jobs out there.
Dude.
What do you think that does to the development of Micah Parsons? I mean, he borderline defensive player of the year this year, more than likely offensive or defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what Dan Quinn changed in Micah Parsons because he was a stud in college. Micah Parsons eats lunch with DeMarcus Ware every week. Mm-hmm. Defensive end legend for the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Or the Broncos, right?
No, the Dallas Cowboys.
He won a Super Bowl.
He won a Super Bowl.
He won a Super Bowl in Denver. But yeah, man, I mean, when you have someone like Micah Parsons and Diggs and this defense that just kind of got thrown together and clicked that well and was really good, you really hate to get rid of the brains behind it all. Mm-hmm. And if we lose Dan Quinn in 1 year, it's just gonna suck. I mean, we've had some shitty defenses in the last 3 to 4 years, and this is like I think I told my dad this a while back. This is the best Cowboys defense I've seen in easily a decade.
It's not saying a lot though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. After that performance this last weekend, yeah. But it would just really suck if we lost Dan Quinn. Yeah. Because I mean, he made everything work on the defensive end. Mm-hmm. He came in, he changed the culture, and brought some glory or future to the Cowboys defense.
I feel like he was the biggest difference between this year and the year before was Dan Quinn, because you had Mike Nolan there. Remember all the stuff that was coming out that the players were talking shit about
after week Mike 3.
McCarthy.
Dude,
they were like, they don't fucking show us shit. Like, yeah, it was crazy. I think he was the biggest difference. I feel like he was the guy that came in and was like, It almost felt like he was the head coach. Like if you watch Hard Knocks, I mean, Mike McCarthy, he's kind of just running around doing fucking mojo time, whatever the fuck that was. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Maybe Brian Flores will come.
Hey, I mean,
that would be a good one.
Miami kicked him out. He's a hell of a defensive coordinator. So
that would be an awesome fit there in Dallas, especially with some of the young talent with Diggs, and maybe he can fix Diggs because I mean Diggs.
That was something I wanted to ask you. So like, we see all the interceptions, but we also see he gave up the most yardage, right, when he's in single coverage, right? Mm-hmm. So is he really that good? Or,
I think some of those.
He's just like a hit and miss guy.
I think some of those interceptions where he was just
in the right spot at the right time.
Well, the right spot for the situation, but he was just like so out of coverage to where the point where like he wasn't even in a zone that he was supposed to be in, and the quarterbacks weren't anticipating that. He just happened to sneak on in. Yeah,
I think the big thing with Diggs is his mentality changed throughout the season, and then I think the way that he was targeted changed throughout the season. The beginning portion of the season, it was interception, and minimal yards. And then I'm sure there's some film on him of him jumping routes. And that's what he was doing from the get-go, jumping routes. And then you see all these routes come at him later on in the season with double moves, triple moves. It's like they figured out what he was doing, and then the interception starts to slow down. I'm all for the interceptions, but the interception leader isn't still in playoffs. The team with no all-pro guys, those guys are still in playoffs. Yeah. So I'm all about an efficient defense across the board. So if Diggs loses 5-6 interceptions next year, but we're better as a team, that's what I'm all about.
Yeah,
he had a great year this year. That was awesome. But what do we have to show for it?
So the individual accolades are just kind of.
No, I think it's cool, but not when we're talking team-wise.
I feel like Dan Quinn kind of just let him do what he does. He kind of gave him a
little bit of freedom.
Yeah, so he structured that defense around his playing style, and he kind of just let Diggs do what he does.
It really seemed like we all heard Diggs, the offensive guy that turned to a defensive player. He was very offensive-minded. He was going after the ball every single play.
Yeah.
He wasn't – there was no zone with Diggs.
No, the physical attributes were all there for sure. Mm-hmm. It's just – I think it's just knowing where to be in the situations. Mm-hmm. He did give up a lot.
I'm sure he's going to learn. After his rookie year, he talked about 14 passes that touched his hands that weren't interceptions, and how he wanted to improve on interceptions. And he did that. But now I think going into year 3, he needs to improve on minimal yardage.
Yeah.
So, I like his upside.
No, yeah. But interesting situation there with the Cowboys. We'll see what that leads into. Let's go ahead. Let's move on. Let's go ahead and let's talk about these upcoming games in the divisional round. Or we missed
the Cardinals and Rams.
We skipped the Cardinals and Rams because it was so uneventful. What did you see, Drew? Did you see?
The last 3 weeks, I was kind of talking shit on Matt Stafford, saying that he's been underperforming, and like this high game that he was playing started to fade. But he played so good. He was 13 for 17, 2 touchdowns, got sacked once, a little over 200 yards. Super efficient. Mm-hmm. He hit OBJ. He hit Cooper Kupp. He did really well. The Rams brought back Cam Akers. He ran for over 50 yards. And then that defense, again, just reborn at playoff times. 2 takeaways, 1 pick six. They were turning short fields, or flipping the field real short. So it all around that really surprised me that they did so well.
OC, what happened to the Cardinals offense? Like, they sputter there at the end? They kind of just shut down towards the end of the year? What happened?
There's a Cliff Kingsbury effect going back to Texas Tech where they show like his stat line. He gets off to hot starts, right?
Best in the NFL after week 7, right?
Yeah, they were 7-1 after the first 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And then just completely just goes down the drain the last like half of the season.
Had to win the last 2 games just to stay inside the playoff.
Yeah, even at Texas Tech, like they showed his record and his track record, and he just like there's a landslide where he just completely loses the team, or he just starts getting out coached. Whatever it is, there was a meeting today with the owner and the GM of the Cardinals with Kingsbury, so he's on the hot seat right now. So they're not happy with.
They're not satisfied with.
You were the number 1 seed at the halfway point, and then you get handled in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
You should have at least won the division, starting 7-1, and then you couldn't even put up a fight. on the Monday night wild card weekend, you know,
against a divisional team that you already beat once. Yeah.
So there's I don't know, there's stuff that needs to change in Arizona, obviously, because people aren't happy there.
Yeah, for sure. They're gonna have to make some changes there, especially offensively. I mean, see what happens when you don't establish a running game. Do you think maybe not having D-Hop there towards the end of the year really hurt them?
Yeah, because I think it messed up rhythm for Kyler, because him and D-Hop had that rhythm going the first half of the season, and then he starts getting the hamstring injury or the leg injury.
Yeah.
And then it's just, I don't know, it kind of threw off his rhythm with him, and then he comes back for like a game or two, and then he gets put on the IR again.
Yeah.
And you don't want to put it all on one guy, but I mean, he was one of the top receivers in the league, you know. But again, like running game, I know they got Chase Edmonds hurt for a while there, but then Connor came in and he did his thing. But
he had like 17 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
Granted, majority of his touchdowns were when Hop was healthy, so they were a two-dimensional team. You lose their number one receiver, you become one-dimensional now. You run a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, interesting situation to see what the Cardinals end up doing, because I mean they started off hot this year. Kyle Murray was playing like an MVP. He was playing like the Oklahoma Kyle Murray that we all like to see. But yeah, things kind of just fell off there at the end, especially with all that leadership that's in the building with J.J. Watt there. Like that kind of surprised me. They had such a awesome year. It was probably one of the best years they've had in a really long time, and to go out the way they did, kind of sad. Kind of sad and disappointing. But we'll go ahead. We'll move on. We'll talk about the games coming up this weekend. Big games. Bengals in Tennessee. Interesting game. Are people overlooking Tennessee, or are people just because we saw the Bengals beat the Raiders think, oh, maybe the Bengals have a chance? What do you think, OC?
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, the Bengals hot right now, you know?
Yeah.
They weren't that impressive against the Raiders, but I mean, they still look like they could just pop off at any point. You know, you got 2,000-yard receivers with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
So it's like they can get going at any point, you know? And they still got Joe Mixon in the backfield, and Joe Burrow, like, to his credit, like, I was kind of skeptical about him coming out and then from LSU, because he only had really that 1 year where he threw for 60 touchdowns. And I was kind of like, oh, you know, you transferred. You only really started 1 year. Tore your ACL last year. But then, I mean, the dude's been balling. So I can't, like, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to pick against him just because of what he's done this season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but to your point, I can see why people overlook Tennessee right now, because, you know, they didn't have Henry for the last half of the season. Some people, like myself, don't really believe in Tannehill. So it's like, I don't know, like, but
is that your personal vendetta against Tannehill?
A little bias there, yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see the workload that Derrick Henry gets this week, and it's going to be interesting how they establish him. Does he get a lot of touches early? Because he's always been like a second half runner, so he doesn't really do much in the first half. Yeah, but then he really gets his wheels turning in that third and fourth quarter. So it's going to be interesting to see what they establish early.
Kind of ease him into, because I'm pretty sure Mike Vrabel has some type of game plan ready to go. Like, I mean, they've been playing well without Derrick Henry, but now getting him back, I'm pretty sure they're probably going to ease him into it, try to get through this first game, and then just kind of save him for the NFC title game.
Potentially, I mean. But you look at Tennessee, and it's not like you say Tennessee is the 1 seed, and it's not something that scares you. You're like, oh,
nope.
They won it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if you were to say Kansas City's the 1 seed, you're like, oh
right.
You know, they're pretty good. Or Buffalo even. I feel like they've gotten to that stature where you're like, oh, Buffalo's got Josh Allen, you know.
Right.
KC's got Pat Mahomes. Who does it? Oh, Ryan Tannehill.
Ryan Tannehill.
Okay.
Yeah. But they also have, Derrick Henry, probably the best back in the league right now, and that paired up with A.J. Brown, I feel like it's going to be an interesting matchup. I wanted to ask, did you see Joe Burrow after the game in the press conference with his glasses and stuff?
The little cool shades.
The guy's cool. The guy's cool, man. I think he's the real deal.
I mean, he holds it down. He's from Ohio, so I know he's all about that team, you know. So
yeah, credit
to him. So I feel like he's got like. He plays with like there's no pressure, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what's cool about him right now. So
who are you taking for that one?
Oh, Bengals.
Bengals all the way.
Yeah.
What about you, Drew?
I'm also taking the Bengals.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that does sleep on the Titans every year. I'm like, the Titans? Really? Ryan Tannehill? What? But like we talked earlier, Ryan Tannehill, he doesn't throw the ball super well. He lets Derrick Henry run the ball, but he manages the game really well. He's a really good game manager. And it's always surprising to me every year. It's like, how's Tennessee got 11 wins, 12 wins, whatever the hell it is?
Sneak up on you.
Yeah, it's like, damn. But you roll with who's hot, man. And Joe Burrow just slinging the shit out of that thing. He looks just as confident, if not more confident now than he did at LSU, and he made college football look easy. So I'm going Bengals all the way here.
I see the valid arguments that you guys are making. I'm still going to go Tennessee. I think the biggest difference maker right now between the two of them is Mike Vrabel. And, I feel like no, it's a bye week. They're coming off the bye week. They didn't look so hot against the Texans. I understand that. But I feel like he's one of those guys who he knows what he's doing. He's been in these situations before, not necessarily as a head coach, but over with New England. I feel like he's one of those guys. He knows what he's doing. And he's going to have his guys ready to go. I feel like he knows how to set a game plan. I feel like he probably was already looking at Bengals film 3 weeks ago and knowing how everything was going to play out. So I feel like he knows if anybody's going to be beating Joe Burrow, it's going to be him. And then another reason, too, Joe Burrow really, outside of that touchdown against the Raiders, he wasn't that impressive. Yeah. They still kind of struggled.
He only had 10 incompletions, 24 for 34, 244 yards.
Yeah, but, I mean, he didn't score any touchdowns. Because they could have easily put the game away, especially in the third quarter.
The one touchdown was the phantom whistle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the phantom whistle, exactly. So you got to put an asterisk next to that touchdown. So
it's his first full season and first playoff game. I think that's one hell of a game.
I know what you guys are saying. Like maybe because Joe Burrow out of the two is the better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill,
skill set wise.
But I think Tennessee still has the better head coach and the better team overall. Like you said, how many stars on that defense can you name for the Bengals? You can't name any, right?
And that's what scares me. That if they get Henry going, who's going to stop him?
Who's going to stop him, right?
I don't know.
Because the Tennessee was able to move the ball without Derrick Henry. And now with the fresh Derrick Henry, you're coming off an injury, but he's got some rest. He's got an extra week. He's going to come fresh.
You bring up a good topic right there to go back on the quarterbacks. You look at the skill sets this week, the matchups. Mm-hmm. And last week, aside from the Jimmy G and the Dak game, like all the guys that won, Brady over Hurts, Allen over
the better quarterback
Jones.
Won.
Yeah, the better quarterback, the more seasoned guy, won. So it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously you said Burrow has the better skill set over Tannehill, but you bring up the good counter argument saying how Tannehill's a great game manager, and he finally gets his guy back to kind of like settle him in, take the pressure off of him. So I don't know. The Bengals load up the box and then
that's
goes over
exactly
the top.
what I think is going to happen.
Especially
I think the Bengals load up the box and just come out strong. Just make sure that Derrick Henry has no presence at the beginning.
Yeah, but then what if Ryan Tannehill plays well? Because we've seen him play well, and not just he's played better than just game manager, right? Like, I mean, he beat him and AJ Brown single-handedly beat the Niners on that Thursday night. He put up numbers against them.
Yeah, but the Niners secondary, just because they beat the Cowboys, it's still not a good secondary.
The Bengals secondary gave up yards against the Raiders.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Yeah, remember? Yeah, even what's his name? Darren Waller had that huge play over the middle where he got right behind the linebackers and between the safeties. I feel like that's the type of play that Tennessee can produce, right? And
maybe that's a play that Derek Carr produced.
The only way I see the Bengals beating Tennessee if for sure not a single DB can cover Jamar Chase one-on-one.
Okay.
Right? If I feel like if they can contain Jamar Chase, especially some of those big plays, they take that away from them. We'll see.
It's gonna be that matchup's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be a fun game. Big game after that.
I think they're all fun games, really.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think that's actually the one game that's the least fun.
You think so?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at in comparison to the Packers and the Niners,
Packers, Niners, Bills, Chiefs, Bucks, Rams. I
Yeah,
think those are all more
gonna be
exciting
fun.
They all
games.
got a little bit of juice in them.
Yeah.
Well, Packers Niners. What do you foresee there?
Something that Aaron Rodgers does way better than Dak Prescott. He will be able to exploit his own defense, and he's going to be able to take advantage of the Niners secondary a lot better than the Cowboys did. I'm assuming LaFleur is going to be able to handle coaching a lot better than Mike McCarthy did, so I expect Green Bay to do well. I think it'll still be somewhat close. I'm thinking within 10 points. But I will take Green Bay on that one.
Taking Green Bay, OC.
That's the one that I'm still like going back.
You're back and forth about.
Just because like the playing style, like we talk about like the NFL, you get into the playoffs, you got to have a great running game and stout defense. And what does San Francisco have? Great running game, stout defense.
Yeah.
You're going into Lambeau. It's probably be really cold, and if you can establish that run game and maybe get up a score, and keep Rodgers at bay, at least where he's like coming from behind.
Yeah.
Like maybe you have a shot. I mean, I don't think I could pick against Rodgers and Lambeau.
Yeah,
and that's what's tough. I feel like that's the biggest difference maker right there. It's Rodgers, right? Because you have somebody. I mean, they played earlier this year, but then you watch the game and they won off of Rodgers' back. Like the Niners offense were able to run the ball against them. The defense was able to hold some of the stuff down, but when it gets to like the nitty gritty of it, Rodgers does what Rodgers does.
Yeah,
right?
that game you talk about early on in the season, Packers jump out to like a 17-0 lead, and I was just like, I was watching the game, I was like, oh,
right, yeah,
this is gonna be a shoe in there, it's gonna be over quick.
Yeah,
check back in, the game's going back and forth, and then Rodgers needs 32 seconds to get him in the field goal range just to have a chance to win. So it's like. San Francisco, no. I mean,
and in that game, Boza's still questionable, but Fred Warner's he's clear to play.
Yeah,
so that one's going to be. I feel like that's probably the most interesting game of the weekend.
It is
just because of the back and forth between Shanahan and LaFleur. I feel like those two guys know each other, and I feel like they know how to coach against each other. LaFleur knows what Shanahan wants to do, and Shanahan knows what Rodgers and LaFleur want to do. So that one's going to be really fun. I think for that one, it's probably going to come down to the quarterback play.
Yeah.
I feel like if Jimmy G is able to,
that's lopsided.
I mean we know Rodgers is going to play well.
Disparity there.
we know Rodgers is going to play well, but if Jimmy G can do just enough, if he can put up a drive like he did against the Rams in Week 18, there at the end where he led the team down the field to go into overtime, if we get that Jimmy G, then okay. If we get Jimmy G who wants to throw interceptions against the fucking Cowboys, then
don't give him credit saying wants to throw interceptions. He doesn't want to throw interceptions. That's giving him credit. Like, hey, you're good at doing that by decision.
He might as well fucking gone over there and handed him the ball and say, hey, do your best. But if we're able to run the ball, I feel like the Niners are going to be able to establish the run. What's going to come down to eventually, it's going to come down to Jimmy G's back and his arm. If he can make plays, okay, then we'll see what happens. But if not, I think this looks like about the end of the line for the Niners.
Do you think they get Trey Lance involved like they did in that first game?
Well, that's what I was hoping. I was hoping because Jimmy G, he's still hurt, right? He's still playing through injury. He's still got some issues. I think he's got to look at over that hand. Maybe that's why he missed a couple of throws against the Cowboys, right? Because he sailed on the interception and then he sailed the wide open one to Ayuk. So if he's really hurt, put in Trey Lance, have him go in and run the ball, hand it off, and then if things really get hot, okay, then you still have Jimmy, right?
I'm just thinking about Jimmy G potentially like forcing. That's why I'm hoping like if they get down, it's gonna be tough because you can't take shots against the Packers defense. They got Rasul Douglas over there, who's another like Trayvon Diggs. Like he's a really good DB that will jump routes.
Yeah, he can't afford to turn over the ball there on that one.
The Niners need a big game from Kittle. Kittle was non-existent against Cowboys.
Underwhelming. I think he only had the one reception.
But his
they can get him
key
involved.
was the blocking game for him. Mm-hmm. So he kind of set the edge.
That's true. He's setting the edge. I mean, I feel like they are going to get the running game established.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is if Jamie shows up to play and doesn't turn the ball over. I feel like that's going to be the biggest
They
difference.
have to come out and play the same way they played against Dallas. Get up
Yeah.
early, try to keep them at bay, you know.
But official pick, I'm still going to go Niners. I mean,
Obviously.
I can't go otherwise.
Really?
Your official pick,
I'll go Packers.
Packers.
But, I mean, last possession probably.
It's going to come down to it. Another game that's probably going to come down to the last possession, the Chiefs and Bills.
That's my game of the weekend. That's my dang, this is gonna be the best game of the entire weekend.
That one's going to be awesome. What are your official thoughts on it?
Well, it's a rematch of the conference finals last year, right?
Yeah.
I watched a video of Trayvon the other day of him watching the Chiefs, their entire celebration, the award ceremony, and everything, and he's on the field suited up, still just watching that, soaking it all in. Mm-hmm. And for the next 11 and a half months, that's all that dude's been thinking about. He going out there and winning that game, and that's the type of athlete that I'd want on my team. Someone that's self-motivating, like seeing those guys over there. I want that. Then you look at the defensive side of the ball, and they just played phenomenal against the Patriots. They're rolling really well right now. Pat Mahomes always starts off slow. We talked about that earlier. And so if he starts to go a little slow, Josh Allen, on the other hand, throws up 10 quick points in the first quarter, it could be tough for Mahomes to try and force a comeback. Mm-hmm. If Josh Allen can do what he did against the Patriots, I don't see that defense stopping Josh Allen. They've been a little bit underperforming a little bit to the Chiefs standards. Yeah. So I think if those things happen for the Bills, it'll be a Bills win.
So you're going to go Bills?
Go Bills.
I like Josh Allen. I like what he does. But I just like Mahomes in the playoffs. And granted, if he gets down early, that matchup I was thinking about earlier too, 38-20, Mahomes was a leading rusher. He threw a couple picks. It wasn't his best game, and they just got manhandled. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I don't know if you can go into Arrowhead twice and beat Mahomes. You know, that's my biggest thing, you know. And I think they might be playing with the chip on their shoulder from that game, from the earlier Sunday night game in the year where they got beat pretty good at home. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm going to base my pick off of, that Mahomes isn't going to let the Bills come into his place and just manhandle him again, you know, twice in a span of 3 months.
I agree. It's hard to bet against the Chiefs, especially in the postseason. I'm going to go Chiefs just based off the experience. The Bills played phenomenal. Josh Allen played damn near perfect fucking game against the Patriots. But throughout the year, the Bills they have struggled. I feel like the Chiefs are way too hot. Yeah, they struggled early on, but they figured it out. They got their shit together. The defense got their shit together. So it's gonna be hard against the Chiefs there. So I'm gonna go Chiefs on that one.
I'm thinking some bad juju might be coming to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes or Jackson Mahomes. Those previous shenanigans.
Chickens are gonna come home to roost.
Yeah, it's coming back to them this weekend.
Yeah,
ain't gonna be making no TikToks in the middle of the field now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, even if Patrick Mahomes wins, is he really winning? If he's going home to Jackson and Brittany, and we'll see what happens there. The Rams and Bucks. The Rams beat them quite handily earlier this year. You know, what do you see there, OC?
At home, right, in L.A.?
That was in L.A.
Yeah. And they beat them last year on a Monday night game in Tampa.
Yeah.
So it might be like a little bit of a kryptonite for Tom Brady. It's just that inside pressure that you have with
Aaron Donald.
With Aaron Donald, and then you got Von Miller coming off the edge now.
Yeah.
So, and then you got Jalen Ramsey on the outside, which
he's probably going to match up one-on-one with Mike Evans probably the whole game.
Yeah. So I feel like I lean Bucks just because of Tom Brady, but this game is just like probably a toss-up at this point. If Matt Stafford doesn't turn over the ball, when he doesn't turn the ball over, he's like 7-0. Mm-hmm. When he does throw at least one pick, then he's like 6-5.
So who's your official pick?
I'm not picking against Brady.
You're not picking against Brady. Not in the playoffs.
Did it for too many years. I'm not going to get burned.
I was going to say, it sounds like experience there.
I'm hoping Rams because I want to see a playoff game in LA and I want to go to it because it's close by. If the Niners were to beat the Packs like that or the Packers, that would be awesome. But like you said, it's hard to bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs. Yeah, they have some hurt guys, but I feel like if the Bucs defense can make Stafford make some bad decisions and throw some bad throws, I feel like the Bucs have got what it takes to beat them.
When the Rams won, I thought congrats, you guys beat the Cardinals. You got your one win. You guys are going to beat the Bucs. But the more I think about it, I think I'm actually going to pick the Rams to win this game. Mm-hmm. The big thing that goes unnoticed in that Bucs and Eagles game is Tom Brady got sacked 4 times. His offensive line is pretty beat up. Their center was in and out of the game. He lost a tackle.
Tristan Wirfs, Ryan Jensen.
And going up against that defensive front for the Rams is not good when you have a gimpy front line. So I'm thinking the Rams are hot. Matthew Stafford just kind of made a proving point in that last game. Cooper Kupp, OBJ, Cam Akers. It's a lot to deal with for Tampa, especially, if they're not able to get things done on the offensive side. It's going to be a slow game, I think. It's going to be kind of a duel, and I think it's going to be both teams under 20 points. But I'm gonna go Rams.
It's going to be an interesting weekend. Very exciting divisional round. I don't think I was this excited last year for the divisional round coming up. I feel like
the matchups are good.
These matchups are awesome. The only dark horse I see that's maybe coming through and that people underestimated are probably just the Niners. Yeah. But everybody else, I mean, we kind of expected all these other teams to be in this situation here at the end of the year.
Except aside from that Niner-Packer game, all the games are like 3 points.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Vegas set the line at 3,
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting weekend. That's about it for today, guys. We did over an hour again. Went a little bit over the time that I wanted to, but we'll get to everything else later on.
I want to do one shout-out before
Go ahead.
We're done. I want to shout out Nick Landeros. Hit his first career home run in slow pitch softball, and as he was running the bases, he pulled his quad. So just want to throw that out there.
There you go, Nick.
All right, that's it. That's all he
Tough,
gets.
Man. You got shout out by Drew out here, the loser. Why don't you put that bag back on?
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Put it back on. This is for you, Nick. This fucking D-bag. Before this,
United's still in 7th place.
Oh, okay. So for later on, I know right now we're super NFL heavy, but I mean that's the playoffs right now. Things are getting hot. Later on, after the Super Bowl, the Champions League gets going again. We'll start talking about that. Nobody wants to hear about the fucking Premier League right now. No one wants to hear about La Liga right now.
You don't want to hear about the Premier League when your team's in 7th.
You shut the hell up. Put your bag back on.
About Liga MX, bro.
Liga MX, right?
No one cares about that either.
We'll talk about Puebla later. But we'll get into it a little bit later. For those of you guys watching at home on YouTube, thanks you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. Really helps push the channel out. For you guys listening on this, on anything else, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys all next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.